Hey, gun people. Let's talk about private property for a second, because I hear a lot of people on my comments. YouTube notifies me in comments. Also, before I forget, if you comment and your comment doesn't show up, for some reason, I don't know why, sometimes people who regularly comment will show up in my needs approval box or my possible spam box, so I have to approve them. I don't approve messages. You can write what the hell you want. If you're being a jerk, then I'll delete it and block you, but most of the time, I kind of like to hear the other side of the story and see where people come from, as long as they're just not being idiots like saying you're an asshole. But regardless, if your comment doesn't show up, it's because I haven't had a chance to review it. So I get notified of comments, so I read most of the comments on my videos, and I kind of get trends, and that's how I kind of get ideas for other videos. And if you've asked me to do a video and I haven't done it, either send me an email or repost comment and say, hey, you haven't done this, because sometimes I forget or I haven't got to it. But this thing kind of comes up a lot. Where can police be allowed to enter your private property, or what is really private property, and where does the state need authorization to enter? Now, like everything in law enforcement and in the government, there's exceptions, there's exclusions, there's emergency, little loopholes. So nothing is really absolute. The government can go where they want, when they want, for whatever reason they want, and they're supposed to justify it, but they don't, and they don't have to. They may have to later if it's major and somebody gets killed and they have to justify why they were there, or if you end up on a murder scene or multiple murder and you're going to lose all that evidence due to, exclusionary rule because you obtained it illegally, then it may be an issue. But you know what? They can pretty much get to your house for pretty much any way they want to. But the rule is, normally, the easy rule is, cops are trained, if a normal person has access, or if the mailman can get to it, it's considered public. So if your mailbox is at the front door of your house, any cop, any government can freely walk up to the front of your house, no warrant, no reason whatsoever. It's considered public. Even though it's on private property, even though you have signs posted, private property, do not enter, keep out, none of that matters. So an easy cue is, if the mailman can get to it, then any government agency can get to it. If a person walking down the street can get to it, then it's considered public. You haven't taken steps to stop it, so therefore you can't. If you have a locked gate that's locked, and I used to hate going to a house like this, gangbangers and punks, you go to their house, you couldn't get in because they have these big gates, these big fence, and they have a lock on it. So if we would just go there because they were on parole or probation to do a parole or probation search because there was crime in the area that was related to their probation. If we have auto theft or burglaries in one area, then we'll run everybody on parole or probation in that area for burglary or auto theft, because most people usually go to crimes that they're good with, they learn, they hang out with those guys, so they continue to go back to that crime. So if there's a burglary crime, you look for people on probation or parole on burglary. If there's an auto theft crime, you look for people on probation for auto theft, either on parole or probation. And then what we do is we make a little target list in the morning and go, you know what, we've got a lot of burglars over here. We got 37 people on here. These guys were just released. These guys are in custody. These guys haven't committed crime in 2 or 3 years. So let's get the active guys. We'll make out a target list and we'll go do probation search. Knock on the door. Police, probation search, coming in. We look around and we see if there's any stolen property, if they got burglary tools, if we're looking for auto theft, we're looking for things for breaking into cars. So that's how we would get target lists. So a lot of times we go to these houses and they'd have these big gates and locks. And that stopped government. Remember, I was government, so I know what stops government. That would stop us. We can't jump that fence in order to go into your house unless we have the 3 things: a warrant, consent, or exigency. Now, a probation and parole kind of falls in the gray area of exigency and warrant, because you have a court order. You have an order issued by the government that this person has agreed to either be on parole or probation. So they've given up their right to privacy. So, have I ever jumped a fence that was locked? Yeah. Was it legal? I think it was. Because the person's on probation, he gave up his right. He says he will consent to search and seizure. Would the courts agree with me? I'm not sure. The courts may say, you know what? Just because he has a right for probation, and he has to consent to a search when an officer asks, it doesn't mean that you can break into someone's house just to ask him. So So it's kind of iffy. It never came up. It was never a problem. We would search them. If they did complain, nothing came out about it. So was there a ruling? I don't know. If there's some lawyer or some guy out here who absolutely knows there's a case law out there, good, post it in the comments. But I'm thinking if you're on parole or probation, you get up your right to challenge the government's access to your house, you need to have what's called standing. So if I live with you and you're on probation and I am not on probation, I did not give up my right to privacy. Therefore, if we both control the house and you have a room and I have a room, when we go search a house where there's people that's not on parole, technically, and I say technically, here's where all the people are going to be like, I knew you cops are all dirty. Technically, we can't search anything but the room that the parolee or probationer lives and any common areas in the house. So we can't go into mommy's and daddy's room. We can't go into sister's room. Now, anybody with 2 brain cells can figure out if I was a crook and I know the cops can come search me, but they can't search mommy's room, where am I going to keep my dope and guns? I'm going to keep them in mommy's room. Because when the cops come in, if they follow the law, I say if they follow the law, oh my God, I knew it, the cops are all dirty. If they follow the law, they won't go in that room. Now, there was some times that we would get into rooms by the parents would be there and be like, look, do you lock your door? No. There's not a lock on the door? No. So if he wants to walk in there, he could. Yeah. So we would say, you know what? In our mind, he has access to that. Therefore, it's public. Even though it's your room, we're going to search it. And I can't tell you the number of times that we found illegal shit in mommy and daddy's room and not in the parolee's room. So there's plenty of stats out there to justify that. Look, when you put unreasonable rules on the purpose of letting somebody out on parole is say, you know what, we're going to let you out, but we know you're prone to crime. And if you go out there and commit crime, we're going to be able to search you at any time. We're going to make it easy for us to catch you to stop you from victimizing more people. So when we do that, they flip it and go, well, you can go in his house. And this is the liberals. These are all liberals doing this. And I think the liberals, liberal lawyers, defense attorneys, they have a place because they keep the government in check. But they also make rules that really kind of hurt the good people and help the bad people. So, I guess the point is, can I jump over a gate that is locked to get to your house? The answer is no. However, I can do it in an emergency, an exigency, the house is on fire, I'm chasing somebody and he jumps a fence. I can continue to, we can't have the cops just stop chasing people because they jump a fence and go, wow man, I'll be breaking the law if I jump this fence because this person has a right to privacy. And this murderer just jumped that fence, so I'll just let him get away. I mean, it's just not reasonable. There's people that would be like, oh, the Constitution says that if you're a cop and you violate it, you're dirty and you're no good. Look, you got to be reasonable. So you can't allow crooks to be able to get away by just getting, safe havens. Well, if I jump a fence, I can sit on the other side and the cop can't chase me. Or if I cross the county line, he's out of his jurisdiction, he can't cross it to catch me. That's ridiculous. So there's rules that the courts have kind of ruled. However, if you put a lock on your door, you put no trespass, there's a lock, you have essentially established that that is not open to the public. No one has access except you and a person with a key and a person in control of the property. Therefore, government technically cannot cross that barrier. So, if you get a package and your gate's open and the postman can walk up to the front door, the cops can walk up to the front door. If you leave a note to the postman, leave the package in the back of the house, and a cop walks up to the house, hey, if he's telling the government he can go to the back of the house to drop a package off, it suddenly becomes public access. Therefore, I can go to the back of the house. And I can go to the back of the house. Now, back to searching a house in mom and dad's room. When we search the house, it depends on whether we went in there or not. If it looked like the parents were, had a lock, and a lot of parents have a lock on their door. We walk in, there'd be a lock on the door. Now, obviously, anybody with 2 brain cells, they could give the kid to the lock. They could give the kid the key to the lock. The kid could have the combo to the lock. The kid could call mom at work and say, hey, I need to get in your room to get this. Where's the key? Oh, I keep it in the drawer next to the refrigerator. Okay. So he goes in there. So he still has access to it, but it makes it harder for government to prove why we went in there when there was a lock and a parolee according to what he's telling us, did not have access. Now, if we can prove he had access, if there's a key on the door, we would ask the dude, hey man, where's the key to your mom's room? I don't know. I go, dude, come on, you know where it's at. Where the hell's the key? Oh, it's in the drawer over there. Okay. If he knows where the key is, in my mind, he has access to it. I'm going in. So, is it trickery? Is it bad police work? Was I violating the Constitution? Am I this big oath breaker? Look, it is what it is. You need to look at the law reasonably. If you take reasonable steps to stop the government from gaining access to the front door of your house, then the cops can't get to the front door of your house. Now, you can't put up a piece of tape that anybody can step over and go, do not cross police. That's not going to be sufficient for the courts to rule that it's not public. It has to be something that a person has to do something ordinarily that they wouldn't have to do if a normal person was walking by and they weren't trying to break in. So, I have signs posted, keep out, posted, private property. You know what? Freaking, if my gate ain't closed, the damn government comes in here when I put up this barn, the tax assessor came out immediately to get his money and says, hey, we were looking on Google Earth and it looks like you have a building that wasn't here. We want to see what it was. I'm like, shit. Now, Texas, they're not supposed to come on your property unless they're invited, but because I didn't have a gate, even though my mailbox is outside the gate, if the mailman delivers a package, they'll come up to the front door of the house and leave it. So that's why I put an automatic lock on my gate, and I've closed the gate. Now, if they want to walk in my gate, they have a 600-yard walk. That if they want to walk 600 yards, I'm a little bit more comfortable with that because they're going to have to either run or walk 600 yards back. And if they're a crook, they're going to have to carry something that they steal that way. It's a lot easier than if they could pull their car up to the front of my house, load their car up, and leave. So that's my spiel on when somebody can come in your house. Remember, it always goes back to the same three things: exigency, warrant, or consent. And exigency is that set of circumstances that would lead a reasonable person. There was an emergency or there was some exclusion to the privacy that they had to get in there immediately, and they didn't have time to go get a warrant. Now, technically, if somebody wanted to challenge, when we as cops jumped the gate to go do a parole search, and they wanted to pay a lawyer to challenge that and to sue, probably the courts would rule, you know what? You climbing that fence to go do a routine probation search when you had no other evidence that there was possible destruction evidence or no exigency, you should have went and got a warrant. Therefore, anything you found is no good. Now, the problem with that is the punishment of crime really doesn't matter. So when cops do things, if they aren't really punished for it, they're going to keep doing it. So there's no teeth holding government, the police, accountable. So when we jump the fence, if we're going in for, auto theft or burglary, and for some reason a guy challenged and they did win, and the courts go, you know what? You can't use that evidence you found. Okay, big deal. So we got the evidence back to the victim. We know you're still committing crimes. We know we need to watch you more, and we can't convict you on this crime. Big stinking deal. I mean, most people are 3, 4, 5 page rap sheets, been arrested, 40 times and have only been convicted 10. So if we lose that, it's not a big deal. If we go to a probation search and we think this guy's involved in a murder or a triple homicide or gang shooting where there's 3 people in hospitals that are about to die, then we're probably not going to jump that fence because why risk it, dude? We don't want to lose if we find it. If we really think this guy in here, screw it. Let's go get a warrant. Now, that's what I would do, and that's what good cops would do. Some cops may go, screw it, let's just climb the fence. He's on parole. Who cares? We're covered. We can't be sued. Worst that can happen is we'll lose the evidence, but you know what? We probably won't find anything anyway. So there's always a lot of different sides. Again, I try to express so you can kind of understand where the cops are coming from. I'm not justifying bad behavior. I'm not justifying, doing bad things. I'm just telling you the way it is. All right? So we'll end that there.